Have you ever found love in the most unexpected place, with someone who seems completely different from you? For Margaret, a 60-year-old woman with a simple routine of swimming twice a week, the idea seemed impossible until she met James, a young swimming instructor at her local pool. What started as innocent conversations soon led to something much deeper. Something neither of them could have predicted. How does a woman in her 60s find herself drawn to a man less than half her age? And what happens when their secret moments become the most exciting part of her life? Margaret had always been a woman of routine. At 60, her life followed a predictable rhythm, one she had carefully cultivated to bring her peace after decades of raising children, working, and keeping a household running. Twice a week, she would pack her swimming bag, neatly rolling her towel and swimsuit before making the short walk to the local pool. The water had always been a place of solace for her, a chance to escape into a rhythm of strokes and splashes, her body cutting through the water, a place where time seemed to stand still. The pool was mostly quiet during the early hours. She preferred the soft hum of the pool's filtration system. The occasional splash of another swimmer and the lapping of water against the tile were soothing. Margaret liked the quiet, appreciated how it contrasted with the noise that filled most of her life. She would swim her laps methodically, her breathing steady, the cool water of familiar comfort against her skin. This had been her ritual for the past few years, ever since she discovered swimming could help ease the persistent stiffness in her joints. But everything changed the day she met James, the new swimming instructor at the pool. James was in his late 20s, with a tall, athletic build and an easy smile. Margaret had noticed him on her first day back after a short hiatus, leading a class of children at the far end of the pool. His voice was kind yet firm, guiding the kids with patience. After the class, she saw him in passing as she dried her hair near the lockers. He gave her a polite nod, acknowledging her presence but nothing more. Margaret didn't think much of it at the time. Young people came and went at the pool all the time, and their lives rarely intersected with hers. The next time she came to the pool, Margaret found herself more curious than usual about the young instructor she had noticed from afar. After finishing her usual set of laps, she dried off by the poolside and, on impulse, approached him as he packed up some equipment. "Hi there, you're the new instructor, right?" Margaret said, her voice steady but with a hint of hesitation. James looked up from his gear, surprised by the approach, but greeted her with a bright, respectful smile. "Yeah, that's right. You swim here pretty regularly, don't you?" Margaret blinked, surprised that he had noticed her routine. "Yes, I do," she replied, feeling a bit self-conscious. She wasn't used to being the subject of anyone's attention, especially someone so young. James nodded, his expression turning thoughtful as he glanced toward the water. "You've got a really smooth stroke," he said, genuinely impressed. "Have you ever thought about joining one of our adult swim classes? I think you'd be great in one." Margaret smiled, shaking her head lightly. "Oh no, I'm not competitive at all. I just swim for the peace it brings me." James's smile widened, and he leaned slightly against the railing. "I get that. Still, it's impressive. You've got great form, better than most." Margaret felt a warm blush creep across her cheeks, flattered in a way she hadn't expected. Their conversation didn't last much longer, but something about it lingered with Margaret. After she left the pool that day, she had not been complimented on anything physical in a long time, and the warmth of his words stayed with her. Over the next few weeks, their interactions became more frequent. James would greet her when she arrived, offer tips on her stroke, and occasionally even swim alongside her for a lap or two. Their conversations grew from casual exchanges about swimming techniques to more personal topics. Margaret found herself looking forward to seeing him, a feeling that both excited and unnerved her. One evening, after a particularly strenuous session in the pool, Margaret lingered longer than usual in the changing room. She was towel-drying her hair when she heard the familiar sound of footsteps approaching. To her surprise, it was James. "Hey," he said, leaning against the doorframe. His smile soft but different, more intimate than before. I was hoping I'd catch you before you left. Margaret felt her heart quicken. Oh, what's on your mind? She asked, trying to sound casual, though the tension between them was undeniable. I don't know, James replied, taking a step closer, his eyes searching hers. I just wanted to talk. His voice was low, steady, but there was something in his tone that felt heavy, more deliberate. Margaret hesitated, unsure of where this was going. James had always been friendly, but this moment was charged with an unfamiliar energy. Before she could think too much, James reached out, his fingers gently brushing a damp strand of her hair behind her ear. His touch was tender, yet it sent a shiver down her spine. You look beautiful like this, he murmured, his voice soft, almost as if he wasn't sure whether he should say the words. Margaret felt a wave of uncertainty wash over her, but before she could respond, James closed the space between them even more slowly, almost cautiously. He slipped his hands to her shoulders, fingers lightly grazing the edges of her swimsuit. Her breath caught in her throat as she felt him pause for a moment, giving her a chance to say something to stop this. But she didn't. Instead, she stood frozen, conflicted but undeniably drawn to him. With a quiet, gentle movement, James slid the straps of her swimsuit off her shoulders, his hands brushing against her skin in a way that sent warmth rushing through her body. Margaret exhaled shakily, her mind a whirlwind of thoughts, but her body seemed to have already made the decision. The damp swimsuit fell to the floor with a soft thud, leaving her exposed in front of him. James's gaze lingered on her, his breath shallow as he took in the sight of her, not with the eyes of a younger man seeing an older woman, but with desire and admiration. Margaret's pulse raced. This was uncharted territory for her, something she never imagined happening at this stage of her life, especially not with someone like James. But in that moment, all her worries faded into the background. She reached for him, her fingers trembling as they found his shirt, pulling him closer, and in that quiet, intimate space, everything else melted away. Margaret felt her breath catch in her throat. She hadn't been touched so tenderly in years, and certainly not by someone like James. James, she began, but she didn't finish the sentence. She wasn't even sure what she was going to say. He didn't let her finish. Instead, he leaned in, his lips brushing hers gently, testing the waters. Margaret froze for a second, her mind racing, but then, against all her expectations, she kissed him back. There was something about the moment, about the quiet intimacy of the changing room, that made everything else fall away. After that first kiss, things between Margaret and James changed. Their connection deepened, becoming something more than casual conversations by the pool. They began to spend more time together, both in and out of the water. Sometimes, after her swim, they would meet in the changing room, where stolen kisses and fleeting touches became their shared secret. It felt surreal to Margaret, being with someone so much younger, someone who made her feel alive in a way she hadn't felt in years. But as their relationship grew, so did Margaret's doubts. She often found herself wondering what James saw in her, a woman more than twice his age. She questioned whether it was fair to him, to herself. She loved how he made her feel cherished, desired, but there was an underlying fear that one day the reality of their age difference would catch up to them, and the fantasy they were living would unravel. James, on the other hand, never seemed to have any doubts. He was patient with her insecurities, always reassuring her with quiet words and gentle touches. I'm with you because I want to be, he told her one night, after they had shared another quiet moment in the changing room. Age doesn't matter to me. You matter to me. His words were a balm to her worries. At least for a while, Margaret found herself surrendering more and more to their relationship, allowing herself to be vulnerable in a way she hadn't been in years. She had always been the caretaker, the responsible one. But with James, she felt like she could let go, taken care of for once. Their physical connection became more intense as the weeks passed. The changing room, once a mundane place where she prepared for her swims, had now become a sanctuary for their secret moments. The sound of water dripping from the pool, The echo of their whispers, the feel of his hands on her skin, it was intoxicating. Margaret had never imagined she would find herself in such a situation much